I want to highlight the main attitudes that you must avoid if you want to find real success in your life. You need to stop being lazy. Opportunity is missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and it looks like work. Most people know of Thomas Edison. He was one of the most prominent early American inventors in the early 20th century. And his most well-known inventions include the phonograph, motion picture camera, alkaline storage battery, carbon telephone transmitter, and of course, the light bulb. But what is less known about Edison was his incredible work ethic. He was one of the most productive inventors of all time. He was able to claim over 1,093 patents in his lifetime. He achieved this feat by aiming for one minor invention every 10 days and a major invention every 6 months. Throughout his life, Edison also journaled like a madman. He wrote over 35,000 journal entries containing more than 5 million pages of notes. The point is, his genius didn't spring up from a single moment of inspiration. He spent his entire life deliberately trying and testing and failing, otherwise known as working. He understood the power of consistency over intensity. Sure, Edison had a genius potential, but that fact alone doesn't explain his enormous success. Some estimates believe he performed nearly 10,000 experiments alone just to invent the light bulb. When's the last time you tried something over and over again 10,000 times? Edison sums up his success in this quote: "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration." And while people don't think of Thomas Edison as a failure machine, that's exactly what he was. But with his hard work attitude, he didn't see them as failures, because failures are only failures if you allow them to stop you. If you don't, you can call any failure a lesson, and it's 100% your attitude that changes a frustrating setback into a precious lesson. So the next bad attitude that you want to avoid is excuses. Modern day humans, we're excuse machines. Most of us make excuses all day long for just about everything that we have failed to accomplish. But what exactly is an excuse anyway? I like to think of it as a self-preservation mechanism to protect our fragile egos. So instead of battling through that lazy self-talk and getting some real stuff done, we're terrified of failing. So we conjure up elaborate excuses for our failures and our shortcomings and our setbacks. We make excuses on top of excuses, such as why we're late, why we're in debt, why we're tired, why we didn't meet the critical deadline, why our house is a mess, why the lawn didn't get mowed, why our pants no longer fit, why we skipped a workout, why we just had to have that sugary treat, why we missed our kids' soccer game, why we never learned to play a musical instrument. It's a never-ending cycle of excuses. Sure, no one's perfect, and we can't be everything to everybody. We have to make choices about what we want to focus on and what we want to accomplish, but own it. Don't hide behind excuses. If something is important to you, then you'll do it. It's not, don't. But do yourself and the rest of us a big favor and ditch the excuses. My father hates the word can't. Anytime he hears that phrase, I can't, come out of my mouth, he flies off the handle since I was a little kid. I learned early on to avoid using that word at all costs. He was way more upset by the word can't, profanity. Now that I'm a father, I get it. Hearing my child say, I can't, is an instant no-go for me as well. I immediately stop whatever I'm doing to have a heart-to-heart chat, to discuss with my child why can't is almost always a lie, and agreed, always add the word yet to the end of it. I can't yet. Okay, that's better. That's a statement that I can support. And I think society would be way better off if we just remove the word can't altogether. It might be one of the most dangerous words in the English language. Why? Because it supports a society of entitled, lazy complainers who work harder to avoid challenges instead of leaning into difficult, meaningful work. So another attitude to avoid is entitlement. Honestly, if you focus on having extreme gratitude in your life, you should consider everything as a gift or a blessing. Because seeing everything as a blessing is a much more mentally resilient way to live. Because you don't deserve that 2-week tropical vacation, at least not until you can afford it. And you don't deserve that new luxury vehicle until you've earned it. Which means not until you can afford it without a loan. Back in 2006, I attended a small after-work gathering. Just a few coworkers enjoying some drinks and conversation. I started chatting with one of my coworkers' girlfriends, and she was nice and she seemed smart and thoughtful. I asked her what she did for a living, and she said she had lost her job recently and was on a search for a new one. But she was finding it difficult to land a new job, and she was pretty bummed about that. Then she says, "That's okay. I just bought a brand new Honda Accord yesterday." Upon hearing that, I was floored. That kind of statement just doesn't compute with me. I figured she must have wealthy parents or something, right? So I cautiously asked, "Cool. Well, how much did that cost you?" She replied, "Well, it was a little over $23,000. Yeah, it's a lot, but I really deserve it. And they approved me for a 60-month loan. Plus, it'll make me feel more confident in my next job interview." She said all of that in this happy, sing-song, hopeful voice, while I was trying to hide the fact that I was having mild heart palpitations. What was making her temporarily happy was making me want to throw up. She had no clue the poor financial impulse decision that she just made. And if she kept making these unwise financial decisions, I knew she'd end up having to work a job she probably hated until she was at least 80. Talk about being the opposite of living a resilient life. If you use debt to buy things you can't afford to alleviate mild emotional pain, well, you're in for a lifetime of bad decisions, poor choices, and endless life of work. She just kept using that word deserve to justify a completely irrational, irresponsible, senseless choice. Because you deserve it when you've earned it and you can afford it, not a moment sooner. All the best philosophies in life, such as gratitude and delayed gratification and dedication and work ethic and patience and faithfulness, they start and end with your attitude. A bad attitude, it sees a mistake and it calls it a failure, while a good attitude will see a mistake as a valuable lesson. A bad attitude experiences pain and finds superficial ways to fix it or bury it, usually with buying stuff you don't need and you can't afford, while a good attitude experiences pain and knows that it's temporary and knows to focus on gratitude to snap out of it. I suggest you focus on your attitudes first, and your feelings and outcomes will follow. But changing your attitudes is not something you can pick up on your way home from the store. You can't add it to a shopping cart and mark it off your list. You must work on it every single day, little by little over time, and then you'll begin to see the world differently. For example, when you focus on such things as daily gratitude and resilience and meaningful challenges and joining a community of positive, motivated people, well, that's one way to begin to shift your attitudes. Well, to me, that's what living a resilient life is all about. And if you want to know more about that, check out my video here called The 4 Keys to Resiliency. It'll help you get a better understanding of what living a resilient life is all about. And until next time, prepare, adapt, and overcome.